Hello everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and today I would like to share with you guys my final thoughts on the Civivi Knives Elementum Wharncliffe. This is a knife that I am so happy actually came to life because there were a lot of people wanting this to happen. Now, I think the thumb stud edition was put in afterwards, but I'm very happy that it did come with thumb studs because now there's just a little bit more spice to the Elementum. There's a little bit more fidget factor, funness, and something that enthusiasts could actually really get behind. So much so that wonderful aftermarket companies like Flightanium, they offer titanium scales and other material scales, I believe. They also make a titanium pocket clip to match, which is pretty cool. So if you want to go ahead and just premium the crap out of this thing, you can. But chances are your upgrades are going to cost more than the overall knife itself, which is a huge compliment because Civivi is still keeping the Elementum at an incredible price, and there is some genuine value in this name overall, the Elementum. Now, the typical one, I've checked out the regular drop point, spear point, whatever one you want to call it. I've checked that one out many times. I've gifted it to my father, my father-in-law, and then my soon-to-be wife. She carries the Button Lock 2 Natural Jade, and then I also bought a Natural Jade Button Lock and gifted it to a buddy in at my work. So I have checked out many Elementums. Oh, also the one I used to have, I ended up selling it off. It was the rare S35VN Blade HQ exclusive one. I had that one for a little while, did some upgrades, eventually sold it off for financial reasons. I'm sure whoever has it now is enjoying it. S35VN is definitely something that I would have definitely preferred to have, but here you're still getting some pretty good blade material. What they're using here is Nitro V, and I'm so happy that they went with Nitro V and not like 9CR18 or whatever, or D2. That's something that is very popular in the Elementum right now. D2, that's just one blade material that they use a lot. And I'm glad that they went somewhere in between, you know, the actual blade material that they typically use. Nitro V is good to go. A lot of people compare it to 14C28N, and we all know 14C28N is essentially the king of the budget knife blade material. So I have many pieces in my collection that are in that blade material, and it's good to go. Got a good bit of sharpening experience with it, and you can put fine edges, you can put coarse edges on it, and it just takes everything like a champ. Same thing with Nitro V. Now, in my experience, I think Nitro V definitely performs and shines with a coarser edge on it, and definitely lends itself to the actual blade shape here, because this is a blade shape you're really going to want to use a lot more than just a typical drop point style. This is a wonderful knife to gift to somebody who is used to the typical traditional box cutter blade shape, the replaceable blade shape. They want to get a knife that's not going to break the bank, and we'll talk about what this thing costs and the different variations in just a sec. So I did pick this guy up from Blade HQ. There are 4 variations. They are all available right now. You can also find it on Amazon. I just don't have that pulled up, but chances are you might be able to find it for $1 or $2 less on Amazon, just cause. But from Blade HQ, there's not much variation between pricing between the 4 variations. The one that you see here in front of you, it is a satin finish blade. Not my particularly favorite finish of blade, but I'm cool with it. It's not a big deal. I'm not gonna complain about it in this price point. And it has black micarta scales, which are excellent, very well finished, and super comfy. This one is $56.95. Still bringing it with the value for sure. Now, I haven't had too many Civivis on the channel recently, but I can definitely say from the little bit that I have checked out in recent times, Civivi is no longer Civivi anymore. Civivi is pre-Wii, essentially. Like right before when we started getting like really crazy with designs and stuff, Civivi is already there, in my opinion, which is honestly, it's great for them. Good for you guys. That's awesome. But now you have Sencut, which Sencut is now Civivi when Civivi started, if that makes any sense. This still feels like, you know, not to say anything bad, but this doesn't really feel like a Civivi anymore. This kind of does feel like a Sencut, and I can see why they've been able to keep the pricing so reasonable and value packed, because this isn't really like any of the other Civivis that we've been seeing lately. They're using more aluminum and steel and just nicer materials overall, fancier open and closing mechanisms, just getting out there with cool stuff, right? Trying to stay relevant. While the Elementum, the only thing keeping it relevant is really just its value and the fact that it's so plain Jane and boring that it's essentially a perfect knife for a non-knife person. So that's always been the thing with the Elementum, is that it's a great knife for a non-knife person, because in this price range, this is very competitive. This is a very competitive market, and you kind of need to bring forth some cool, innovative stuff if you want to stay relevant. And I think they really knocked that out of the park with this blade shape, and adding the thumb studs. It's just a cherry on top of it. So I've really been enjoying this. I'm just gonna tell you guys now, already like 6.5 minutes in, I highly recommend it. This thing's awesome. This beats the regular Elementum all day long. This will run and cut circles around the regular Elementum, and I'm pretty sure if you guys know anybody in your personal lives or in your work life that wants to get a knife, and you know they have 50, 60 bucks a drop, right here, this is what it is right here. This is the most amount of knife they can really get. Good blade material, well-tuned detent in action, and just quality of fit and finish that I trust. I definitely do trust. But again, just from what it feels like, it no longer feels like a Civivi. It feels like a Sencut, which is not bad, but it's not great either. So I hope that kind of makes sense to people that have actually handled many things between, well, I suppose the full spectrum of what the WE knife company is producing. If you've checked out stuff from WE, right, like this guy right here, you can do some size comparisons, why not? So this is the WE Knives Praxis, Spyderco PM2. Let's do a couple more here. Civivi Vision FG, and completely different design, locking mechanism and all that, but these feel like night and day. But they still wear the C pivot as if they're related. They're not. The Native 5 Spyderco, Urban EDC F5.5, very similar in overall length, definitely slimmer in hand. And I think this is the last one. The Elementum. The Elementum, the Bug Out. The Benchmade Bug Out. So it's definitely a good bit shorter, mainly because of the blade shape. But there's that. So I know I kind of went off topic. There's a lot of good to talk about this thing. There are other variations. There is a coated one. Not sure what the coating is on it, honestly. But it has all blacked out hardware, liners, pivot, except the C. The C is still silver, so I know some people might gripe about that. It's just a visual thing, right? That one's 55 bucks. It has OD green G10. There is a black G10 with a silver everything else and satin finish blade, 55 bucks. And the fancy schmancy one is a Damascus with OD green micarta scales, which actually looks pretty cool, but that one is $76.50. So that one's about the same price as the S35VN one that I remember. So kind of going back to the whole, you know, blade material options and all that, it would have been really cool if this was maybe an extra $10 more or so to justify the upgrade in blade material. I would have loved to see this in S35VN because Civivi really does know how to heat treat their blade material. This stuff is good to go. It really is. But as it sits with the Nitro V, it's excellent. I have zero complaints about this knife. The lockup, solid up and down, side to side, wonderful. Any pivot movement, excellent, absolutely incredible. The action, everything is so well tuned. For a second, I even thought about doing a flipper delete, but the thing is that the jimping in relation to the positioning of the pivot and the detent and how everything is tuned, it's good. It is really good. You know what? I'm not a big fan of flippers. I have maybe one or two other flippers in my entire collection, and I'm just not a flipper guy. I am hole and studs. That's what I prefer. Maybe a couple front flippers here and there, but not many. I'm hole and studs all the way. But the flipper and how it is tuned, how it is all made, it's excellent. It really is. So those jimps are very grabby, very comfortable, not unnecessarily sharp. There is nothing that doesn't feel like it was missed about this. The sharpening choil and plunge grind, it's perfectly fine. You can get a good bit of sharpenings out of this before you'll start to create a smile. This is a hollow grind. It comes into a relatively thin edge. This is on the thinner side for EDC carry. So this is going to be a lighter use EDC knife, but a good one at that for sure. Ergonomic, it is wonderful in hand. It's very simple. It's very plain Jane. The pocket clip that they use on it, it has enough of a ramp to get into most people's pockets. The clip, it sits on the scale. Unfortunately, it's non-reversible, so that kind of sucks. But at least the screws are flat, so they won't get in the way or tear up or fray up your paint material. So with that being said, that's pretty much it. There really is nothing I have to gripe about this thing. T8 for the pivot, captured on one side, which is cool. For all the body screws, that's cool. T8. T6 for the pocket clip screws, not a big deal. If you get the upgraded titanium clip, they come with T8 screws. That is a must-have clip. Eventually, not anytime soon, because I got other stuff going on financially, but eventually I want to get some titanium scales and the tie clip, eventually do some anodizing work, put my acid stonewash on the blade, and call it a day. If I really wanted to get nitpicky, the tolerances within the pivot are so freaking tight that even though this is running on ceramic bearings, this kind of feels like it's running on washers. It's just so tight, and it's not the typical super silky drop shutty kind of action that you get with typical ball bearing knives. And I understand this is a very lightweight blade with a lot of material removed because it is hollow ground, but still, this feels like it's running on washers. So I mean, some people may like that, may not like that, but this could be a little bit slicker. This could be a little bit more drop shutty, but that is being really nitpicky unnecessarily. The action on it is still extremely well tuned. Any play with the any detent lash or anything like that, nothing at all. So this is a good to go knife. It really is. It's the Elementum that we all know and love, and maybe some people hate, Tri-State, but it's in this format, I think it's definitely the sweet spot for a lot of people, a lot of people. So it's definitely a sweet spot for me. I definitely like it. It's going to stay in the collection for a good bit of time, and it's going to see a lot of use, which is cool. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this little review. If you guys did, leave a like down below. If you are subscribed, if you are not subscribed, I mean, consider subscribing. If you are, thank you so much. I appreciate all your support and patience, of course. And with that being said, have a wonderful rest of your day.